On Overdrive today, we find out what makes the Honda Elevate a great new proposition in the super packed SUV space, and we find out what the Odysse Hawk electric scooter has to offer. Hello and welcome to Overdrive. I am Soini Dutt. Honda has finally entered the crowded SUV space with the Elevate. They might be a little late to the party, but they are ready to take on the market giants like Hyundai Creta, Kia Seltos, Skoda Kushaq, the Volkswagen Tiguan and even the MG Aster. Now, Bird has driven the manual variant for starters of the Elevate. Let's check it out.
This is the new Honda Elevate, and it's probably the finest SUV I have driven in this segment. Let me tell you why. The Elevate gets the 1.5 litre dual overhead cam IV Tech engine. This is a naturally aspirated engine. Makes peak power of about 121 PS, coming in at about 6,600 RPM, with peak torque at about 145 Newton meters. This is like all traditional Honda engines. Peak power and peak torque come in at very high revs, and you would feel that you need to push the throttle down really hard to get this car moving. But Honda's engineers have done a fairly good job in two ways. One, they've refined the torque characteristics. So while peak torque comes in at 4,300 RPM, the torque curve is relatively flat, and you're in the meatiest part of the power band as early as about 2,200 RPM. So you don't feel the engine working too hard to get momentum going. The other aspect is that they have kept the weight of the Elevate fairly low. Curb weight for the manual transmission version is capped at about 1.2 tons, that's 1,200 kilos. This is significantly lighter, almost about 100 to 150 kilos lighter than, say, its competitor, the Hyundai Creta. I'm in fifth gear, pottering about. I'm going to drop it down to about 45 kilometers an hour, 50 kilometers an hour. And while you can sense a little bit of vibration, the engine builds up momentum quite quickly. Having said that, if you had to overtake somebody in a rush, then you will have to drop down to third, maybe even second gear to make for those quick overtakes. So for most highway conditions, even in a few urban conditions, third and fourth gear should be more than sufficient to drive this car around. This 1.5 VTEC is an absolutely brilliant engine. I'm doing about 1,000 RPM, about 40 kilometers an hour. And well, yes, there are a few vibrations. You can even hear them now. Those vibrations largely come from the bodywork, from the body panels. The engine just picks up. There's no jerkiness. It doesn't feel like it's struggling. It's just very comfortably. I'm now doing about 800 RPM. I'm under 30 kilometers an hour, and it's just picking itself up gracefully, comfortably. None of those jerkiness that you would notice in most other vehicles that go down as low. And this is a petrol. Over long distances, even in urban conditions, I think this will be an absolutely brilliant SUV to drive. The one aspect about the Elevate that I absolutely adore is this interior. This is old school styling and design. This is old money. There's a sense of richness to this cabin that you will not find in any other SUV, in any other sedan at this price point. With that brown leather accent on the upholstery, and that's liberally spread across this cabin, whether it's on the seats, on the dashboard, on the door panels, the wood textures, the wood inlays on the dashboard, all of this, well, it brings to mind generations old Accords. This is such a fantastic cabin. Yes, it's got modern elements. You're going to see that large infotainment screen, you're going to see a contemporary steering wheel. And even the steering wheel, it reminds you of a driver's steering wheel. Nice and grippy, compact, small, not large, chunky enough. There is a wonderful feeling to this cabin. Even the seats, they're fantastically supportive. And over long journeys, the Elevate, I believe, will be a very comfortable SUV to drive, tireless, no matter how long you stay on the road. The one area that the Elevate is lacking in is the level of features that you get. And for most consumers out there, this is fairly important, but the Elevate does not have the same level of feature lists like most of its competitors do. Some big misses in this: panoramic sunroof, ventilated seats, and branded sound systems. It does have a PM 2.5 filter, but that has been integrated into the climate control system, and you won't see an external unit. So what's the space like in the rear seat? Well, as you can see, it's adequate. That driver's seat is in my position, and there's plenty of knee room. There's a lot of headroom also, and that's because they've scooped out the roof over here, and that gives you a lot of headroom as well. Shoulder space. Now this is a fairly wide SUV, but shoulder space for 3 occupants will be a little tight. What I do like is that it's got a low flow, so the transmission tunnel is very low, and there's enough space if you have to seat a third person on this bench. Though those vents positioned low, you'll really have to adjust those. Otherwise, this is ideal space for 4 occupants. A fifth can be a bit of a squeeze, but they should be able to manage. What Honda has also done is, both for the driver, passenger and the rear bench, they've worked on enhancing the lower back support. So over long journeys, you won't feel exhausted, your lower back will not have a lot of problems, and it feels very supportive, it feels very comfortable.
The Honda Elevate is also being offered with an automatic gearbox and ADAS functions. More on that after this very short break. Welcome back. You're watching Overdrive. Now, while I do believe that styling is a personal preference, the Elevate brings in a contemporary design along with refined drivability and a luxurious package. All of that with the tried and tested Honda engineering is something that customers are eagerly waiting for. Now, we have also driven the automatic variant of this car, but we'll tell you all about it.
The Elevate also gets level 2 ADAS. But for me, well, I'd switch almost everything off. Indian driving conditions, well, ADAS would kick in almost every time. The only smart execution is that Honda has put limits onto various features for ADAS, and those limits are governed by speed. So you've got collision mitigation, you've got lane keep assist, and various other safety operations within ADAS, but all of them work at different speeds. So the conditions where it has to meet are quite diverse. So you can still drive the Elevate comfortably without having those safety features intruding into your driving experience. Apart from level 2 ADAS, the advanced driver assistance systems, Honda is also offering a very large range of safety features on board, which amongst many others includes 6 airbags, traction control, ABS, hill climb assist, and whatnot. However, at this point in time, what we aren't aware of is how will each of the variants be spec'd, and will those 6 airbags be offered as standard fitment across all variants, or only be available on the top end variant. Another aspect that Honda has worked extensively on is to balance out ride comfort and the dynamic abilities of the Elevate. The Elevate uses a McPherson setup at the front and a torsion beam at the rear, but there's also additional strengthening in the chassis to control dynamic forces. What this has done is kept a very tight grip on body roll. Even pitch has been minimized extensively. The steering feel, well, not that impressive. It is fairly precise, but it also feels a little wooden. Nonetheless, you've got good control over the vehicle, and overall, drivability in this SUV is comfortable. On the braking front, and I've been hearing a lot of this, there have been remarks about Honda's setup, which uses a disc brake at the front and a drum at the rear. But this system is also equipped with ABS and a few other technologies to enhance braking. For all situations and all purposes, this is more than adequate. We finished driving the 6-speed manual, and now we've got the CVT. We are climbing up a particularly steep section of Udaipur, leading up to this place called Raita Hills. And out here, it's quite apparent the noise from that CVT. Well, it's quite loud, doesn't feel very refined. There is a bit of a struggle, but if you were in urban conditions and flat neutral ground, And the CVT is a lot better. It is quiet, effortless, and should be the more popular choice. Certainly the choice you should go in for if you're the kind that keeps driving in the city. It is the more efficient transmission of the two. Honda claims fuel efficiency figures for the CVT stand at 16.9 kilometers per litre as against 15.3 for the manual transmission. That's about 1.6 kilometers per litre better, which is quite unbelievable. On the whole though, I do like the manual better. The refinement and the diversity, the depth of its performance is immense. Keeping it in 6th gear, 800 RPM, and it still is able to pick up from 35 kilometers an hour. I mean, that manual transmission is just marvelous. The CVT out here is the compromise. This CVT has a step down function, so you get a sport mode and you get paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. Now, the paddle shifters certainly make driving this automatic transmission convenient. One aspect of the styling that I haven't really spoken much about is that enormous front end, that very vertical face, and the high sill line on the hood. Well, you can see those two pontoon-like edges for the Elevate. Now, they add a lot of character to the design and the style of this SUV. But they're also a fairly intrusive element in the windscreen. In fact, this almost reminds me of driving the GT400, Lamborghini's classic car, where the housing for the headlamps, well, those pods were in your vision. Similarly, with the Elevate, you've got the same elements and they're there, right in front of you. So overall then, the Honda Elevate is a very promising SUV. Like I said earlier, probably one of the finest in this segment. Now it all boils down to where Honda prices the Elevate. My expectation is somewhere around the 1050, 1080 would be a good starting price for the manual, but it needs to be under 15 lakhs or just about there for the top end spec. And that's also because while Honda has focused a lot on the engineering, where features are concerned, which most consumers want today, well, there are a few shortcomings. There are some elements which aren't available, a few shortcuts that Honda has taken. And I believe that would all be in the effort to make this an affordable SUV, to undercut the competition and ensure the volumes start coming in for the Elevate. It is a fantastic SUV to drive. Efficiency, absolutely brilliant. And Honda can deliver on that count every time. The performance, well, it's not bad. But then for a 1.5 litre naturally aspirated engine with just about 121 PS of peak power, well, I really wouldn't complain. A strong advantage in its favor is of course its drivability, irrespective of whether you're in the manual or with the CVT. Refinement is of a very high order, and you can comfortably drive this SUV in any condition, anywhere. The manual transmission, in fact, is quite an impressive gearbox. So overall then, Honda certainly has a winner. But we'll know soon enough just how big a winner that is come September, when the Elevate goes on sale in the Indian market.
Bookings for the Honda Elevate have begun and the price announcement will be made in September. We will get you all the details from the launch floor then as well. We'll take a very quick break here on the show, but coming up on the other side, we tell you all about the Odysse Hawk electric scooter. Welcome back, you're watching Overdrive. Over the past few years, there have been plenty of electric two-wheelers in the Indian market, not only by established names, but also from the startup universe. The latest entrant in this space is the Odysse Electric Vehicles, which is a startup backed by the Vora Group companies. Now, recently, Chris was pottering around the bylanes of Bandra in Mumbai on the Odysse Hawk, and here are his first impressions.
Hey guys, so today we're out here with the Odysse Hawk Plus electric scooter. Well, this is a proper Chinese scooter through and through. It's my first Odyssey vehicle that I'll be testing out today. Well, at least it looked decent in the photos, but how does it fare out in the real world? Well, I'm gonna find out. So let's get right to it.
Chinese e-scooter models like the Odysse Hawk Plus come with unique standout traits. They look good from afar with their sharp lines, the design cues, the loud paint, the snazzy badging and everything, but when you get up and close to them, their sheen tends to wear off rather quickly, because that's when you notice the ill-fit plastic bits, the buttons that feel rather flimsy, and in this case, a Bluetooth speaker setup that functions like a portable boombox with a heavy Southeast Asian English accent.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
The digital display is very basic with minimal information for you. It doesn't give you the state of charge percentage and resets the one trip each and every time you turn the scooter off. Also, for some reason, you get two horn buttons on either side of the Hawk's handlebar. Thanks to scooters like the Hawk, you tend to appreciate the work and effort that Indian designers and manufacturers have put into their vehicles. Of course, most of them import the cells, but then the design, the packaging, the thought that's gone into making their products appealing and road ready and safe are all there to be seen and appreciated. Then there's the question of convenience. E-scooters and scooters in general are meant to be convenient mode of transportation, where space plays a pivotal role. Seating room on the Odyssey e-scooter is fine, but when it comes to underseat storage space, the Hawk Plus scooter suffers, like with most other Chinese models.
One aspect of the Hawk Plus electric scooter that I didn't quite fancy, well, if you join me this side, I will show you what I'm talking about. Well, under the seat, that's the storage space that you have to work with. That is the battery unit. Of course, it is detachable, and although you might think that is a very convenient thing to have on a scooter of the sort, well, that unit weighs around 20 kgs. So if you don't have a gym membership, well, that's one good way to lose weight if you're lugging that up and about the place. And of course, this is the portable charger unit, which pretty much occupies a lot of space under the seat if you are carrying that around. Now, save for a half-face helmet, well, I don't even have a space to carry along a coconut. So, under-seat storage space, not a real great thing to work with on the scooter of this sort.
The hub motor on the Hawk Plus puts down 1900 watts of peak power, and the battery pack on the e-scooter is a 2.80 kilowatt-hour detachable lithium-ion pack. The scooter overall weighs close to 130 kgs, and it feels fairly light at the bars. But on the ride and handling front, I wasn't really impressed with the Hawk Plus. First up, there's no start-stop or motor kill switch, so as soon as you turn the key in the ignition, the scooter's ready to go. And this can catch you off guard if you're not alert. Then, the ride modes of 1 and 2 pretty much stand for slow and super slow. In both modes, the scooter refuses to accelerate with any enthusiasm. And in the higher mode, it thinks its work is done once the speed of 35 kmph lights up on the dash. It'll be a while before the scooter hits 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, and the odd part is that on some occasions I did find the scooter to pull off the line decently to around 50 kmph, and then the acceleration fizzled out completely. But the strange thing is that the scooter did not respond the same way when I tried the same thing a minute later. So the throttle, very inconsistent. And you'll definitely want to steer clear of any fast lanes or any highways for that matter on this scooter. The feel of the brake levers and response to the disc drum too is underwhelming, with the stiff ride not doing your back any favors all throughout. Overall, there's a lot of kinks and niggles that persist on the scooter, which can be upsetting even over short distances.
Alright, so to wind things up out here with the Odyssey Hawk Plus electric scooter, well, is this vehicle worth the asking price of 1,18,000 rupees? Well, in all honesty, it really isn't, because for that asking price, it is lacking in a lot of aspects. From features to ride quality, when the build, the fit and finish of the scooter isn't really on par with the price you're paying for it. But in terms of something that I really like about the scooter, if anything, has to be the range, because yes, in all honesty, it only does go to about 45 kmph top speed, which means that with the battery and everything, the setup that it currently has, you will cross that 100 kilometer range barrier, which is pretty much the only decent thing about it.
With that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Overdrive. But remember, you can stay in touch with the team through Facebook, Twitter, as well as YouTube. And you can follow our latest updates on Instagram. We'll see you next week. Until then, goodbye. Many thanks for watching. Drive and ride safe.